hard not to get caught up in the energy and everything there. It really is like happy. I feel like
part of the community.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
With its Big Ten school spirit, Indiana University seems far removed from the temptations and dangers of the big city.
You just felt like this is what college is supposed to be like.
On move-in day here every fall, the emotional scenes are played out as parents say goodbye, just as Lauren's parents, Charlene and Rob, did in 2009, confident she was in a good place.
I didn't have any qualms about saying goodbye.
Did you have any sense at all that there could be danger there?
No.
No.
No, not at all.
As far as Lauren's parents knew and heard from her roommates, their daughter fit right in and was busy studying for a career in the world of fashion.
she's just bubbly and outgoing, and you just really instantly fall in love with her when you meet her.
But what her parents only later came to learn from investigators is that Bloomington, like many college towns, has its dark side, with students describing rampant alcohol abuse and a thriving drug scene.
Cocaine, Xanax, all types of different drugs, marijuana. Some people dipped into acid.
Seth Parker, now clean, says he was part of that scene.
It was just a whole bunch of college kids that had money and could afford to do the things that they were doing.
Including Lauren Spierer.
Was it distressing to hear that there was this party scene and she was part of it?
I don't think I realized what degree, you know, and it was a little bit of a shock.
In fact, police found a small amount of cocaine in her room after she disappeared.
So drugs, unfortunately, are the key component to this case.
On the night she vanished, Lauren was in full party mode soon after leaving her apartment.
I think she didn't make wise choices that night, but she didn't make herself disappear.
She spent a lot of the evening with a student she had just met, Corey Rossman, who other students would later say described a wild night.
He's like, well, me and Lauren were hanging out, just partying, pre-gaming before we went to Kilroy's watching the game.
They got to Kilroy's around 2 in the morning.
They're only there about 30 minutes. But during that time period, she leaves her shoes and her cell phone in the bar. And I think that gives you some indication about how out of it she may be at this point.
Notably not with Lauren that night was Jesse Wolf, her longtime boyfriend since high school in New York.
Any rational boyfriend is going to be concerned if you're out with other boys, particularly at 2 o'clock in the morning, potentially drunk in a bar.
So as a veteran investigator, does that raise questions of motive, possible jealousy?
Of course.
When she leaves here, this begins a sort of 2-hour odyssey.
Roughly 2 hours between leaving Kilroy's and when she ultimately disappears.
Lauren and Corey Rossman leave Kilroy's and walk about a block away to her off-campus student apartment in the Smallwood Plaza.
They're going to her room up on the 5th floor of this building, having trouble walking, stumbling. Doors open, they step off the elevator, and there are 4 guys in the hallway.
All fellow Indiana students.
And apparently, they don't like the way Corey is handling Lauren. And Rossman supposedly says something smart to him, and this guy decks him. He goes down.
So Lauren and Rossman leave quickly. It's now about 3 in the morning, and they are heading up this deserted alley towards his apartment a few blocks away.
She's barefoot walking along here. She actually falls down twice in this alley, according to surveillance cameras. He eventually grabs her, throws her over his shoulder in a fireman's carry, and literally carries her the rest of the way to his apartment, which is about a block from here.
She was not cared for in a way that I would want my son to care for another. And that's what kind of gets me, because the circumstances, I think, could have been a lot different had Lauren been escorted back to her apartment.
But instead, they end up at Rossman's place.
They go in here briefly.
Where his roommate later says Rossman got sick.
He vomits on the steps.
And went to bed. The roommate takes Lauren next door to another friend.
It's about 30 feet. to Jay Rosenbaum's door here on the left.
Jay Rosenbaum.
Jay sees what bad shape Lauren is in and said, Lauren, lay down on the couch, go to sleep, go home in the morning. And she won't do it. She says, I want to keep going, I want to go. Jay walks her to the door, and he sees her walk up 11th Street. He's the last person we are aware of that sees her alive.
As police begin to suspect foul play, all three young men, the longtime boyfriend, the new friend, and the last person who saw her alive, are identified by authorities as persons of interest.
The three boys that she was with all hired attorneys very early on, and that created a wall of access for us.
What about Lauren's boyfriend?
He helped with the searches on Saturday and Sunday, but then he left. His parents came to Bloomington and took him away.
What did you make of that?
I thought it was odd.
No witness reported seeing Wolf out that night, and he says he was at home watching the NBA Finals, which ended just before midnight. And then, according to his roommate, he went to bed around 2:30 a.m. Wolf would not agree to be interviewed on camera by 2020, but says he has cooperated with the police and continues to deny any involvement in Lauren's disappearance.
He's the most loving boyfriend you can ask for.
At the time, Lauren's friend said Jesse couldn't have possibly harmed Lauren.
He would never do anything to hurt her.
I'm not suggesting he did anything, but I'm not comfortable that I actually know what he was doing in the early morning hours of June 3rd.
Even more than Wolf, Garrett has questions for Corey Rossman.
There's always been this sort of suspicion around Corey as to, well, did you really end up passing out and going to bed before she disappeared?
I was not the last person with her. This is all I can say. I'm sorry, but I just hope that they find her as soon as possible, and I'm praying for her and her family.
Adding to the parents' anger, they say Rossman was the one friend who refused to talk to them or their investigators. And he claims he lost all memory of what happened after being slugged at Lauren's apartment building.
That punch or punches caused him a temporary memory loss.
Do you buy that?
No, I don't. I think it's a case of self-preservation.
He knows more than he's saying.
I'm not sure of anything, but what I do know is that there's been a complete lack of cooperation. And he was the person that spent the most time with Lauren in the last hours of her being seen.
And he hasn't come forward to try to help?
No, he's resisted.
Corey, Brian Ross from ABC News 2020. Can we talk to you for just a second about Lauren Spierer?
Rossman has denied any involvement in Lauren's disappearance, but declined repeated requests to talk with 2020.
Corey, why won't you talk with Lauren's parents? They just want to ask you some questions about what happened that night. Anything you can say at all?
Property of DC.
What else is under the surface here that we don't know about? I don't know, but I'm not to the point to say he's not involved.
His lawyer says Rossman continues to cooperate fully with police.